Hello, welcome to the Love, Forgiveness, and Gratitude workshop. I just want to say thank you from my heart. It's been such a joy and a pleasure to be able to do these. I love teaching and come from a family of teachers, so maybe that's part of it, but I just love giving this information out. So we're going to be doing a little bit more experiential during this workshop. Just because I think it's important to be able to take each one of these sections and to begin to write about them and implement them for yourself so you can feel that. But we're going to start out talking about what is love. So just I love definitions. I love words, and so in the Aramaic meaning of the word for love refers to something dear to one's heart, something for which one feels a kind of love that is expressed both in words and actions. I've always seen love as an action word, as a verb, something that we, show to people, that we experience with people, but that it's always something that is connected in that way. And interesting, Aramaic is a ancient language that is probably 2,000 to 3,000 years old. And so they already knew that back then. I think it's been something that's been universal throughout time with this. In Greek, love is referred as universal love, passionate love, romantic love, playful love, obsessive love, love of yourself, love of a close friend, enduring commitment, and familial love. I thought it was interesting that in Greek they had all these different forms of love that are referred to, and there's actually different words for each one of those expressions of love. In Sanskrit, love is referred to as sensory craving, rapturous intimacy, generous compassion, impersonal devotion, and unconditional self-love. From the dictionary, a profoundly tender, passionate affection for another person, the benevolent affection of God or a higher power. So for me, love is the greatest healing energy that there is. I think when we, especially looking at coming out of a place of trauma or dysfunction, being able to experience love and loving for ourselves, because we have to do that for ourselves first, before we can truly share that with somebody else. But that when we're able to approach ourselves from that loving place, we are able to experience the greatest healing energy that is possible. I think if we clear away all the psychobabble, all the stuff that's out there around, how to, what to, all of that kind of stuff, if we can get down to that, it just comes down to love and how to be loved and how to be loving, how to experience love, how to put love into actions, how do we share love with each other. I think it all comes down to that. For me, my higher power is the essence of love. And so when I am thinking of, in 12-step programs, there's a third step where I'm willing to turn my will, my life over to the care of God. For me, I can look at that in the same place as I am absolutely willing to turn my will, my life over to the care of love, which for me is my higher power's essence in that. Love is creation. I think when we are in a place of love and loving, our naturalness comes forth, our authenticity comes forth. We just easily come from that place. There aren't walls, there aren't fears that are pushing people away. There is just that naturalness, and that brings about creation in the moment. It may be creation of intimacy with another person. It may be creation of intimacy with myself. Maybe creation of experiences and being able to do something for somebody else that I never would have thought of doing. But when I'm coming from a place of love, the possibilities are endless. Love is thought, action, energy, intent, and all feelings are experienced in love. A lot of times people think of love as we're just supposed to be happy, and so sometimes that is the case, that we're joyful, happy, elated, love feels good. But sometimes I may be coming from a loving place and putting my love into action, and I may be angry. Anger is different than rage. So I'm not talking about rage. Anger, there's no shame, blame, judgment, criticism, or analyzing. So anger is just assertiveness. I can stand up for myself, take care of myself without having to put you down. So sometimes I may have that assertive anger that's going on when I'm coming from a state of love. Sometimes when I'm coming from a state of love, I may see somebody close to me who maybe is suffering, and I may feel some sadness or pain, or may feel a little bit of fear for what their behaviors are, but it's coming from that place of love. Now, none of those feelings are coming from a place of where I'm going to control, manage, manipulate, avoid anybody. So I'm not going to get into my codependence. But it's going to be coming from a place where I can freely love them, but I may experience all the feelings throughout that. So then we look at forgiveness. I really love forgiveness. I had, which is going to be in the second definition here, but in the Greek word for forgiveness means to send away, leave alone, depart, or release and pardon. It doesn't ever say, I'm excusing the behavior. I'm excusing what was done. It just says that I'm going to send away, leave alone, depart, release, or pardon. In the Aramaic word, I read this in I was reading somebody's doctorate dissertation, and it was actually on writings that were done during Jesus's time. And somebody had taken the original Aramaic and they showed different versions of what those writings could be. And I came across the word for forgiveness, and it's pronounced like Shaw, S-H-A-W, although it's spelled differently, but it means to untie. And that made such an impact for me, because I thought, okay, so emotionally, I came, I came from trauma in my background. And so there were some areas where for many years I carried resentment over, which only hurt me, of course, or I carried bitterness or rage even over, again, that only hurt me. And so when I read this, I saw that and I went, okay, I get to emotionally untie from those people. Doesn't mean I'm, again, excusing it. Doesn't mean I'm saying it was okay. Don't worry about it. No big deal. It means I'm going to emotionally untie from them so they don't have any power in my life. That I can let those emotions go. That I can let myself heal from them and let my body heal from them, let my mind heal from them, let my spirit heal from them. But I don't have to be holding on and tied into that reality that I had with the people who had harmed me. I had a friend of mine who has a beautiful prayer that I like to use whenever I'm working with somebody I'm struggling with. And it kind of goes like this. So I'll take a little break about share this. It sounds like, I forgive whoever you use the person's name. I forgive you for harming me, and I ask for your forgiveness of any ways that I've harmed you. And I ask that we forgive each other and that we forgive ourselves. Please, God, thank you, God, amen. And you say that 2 or 3 times over and over again. And it's amazing how that release happens inside. That emotional untie happens, and I can let that person go. The Sanskrit word for forgiveness relates to acts of patience, releasing time, and functioning in the now. I know when I am in a lack of forgiveness. So when I'm holding on to something, resentment, hurt, harm, something somebody said to me, whatever that might be, I am staying in the past. And so I'm not able to be in the present moment. I look at, the 2 feelings of fear and shame, of toxic shame. So fear is always 100%, it's always in the future. So it's always fantasy. So that's always future tripping. I'm doing that over and over again. That toxic shame, because it comes out of our past when we are in that, I'm not feeling good about myself. I feel dumb, stupid, wrong, bad, whatever that might be, or I'm afraid of those things happening. I'm being stuck in my past. So the fear of shame, which is, primarily what drives codependence. So I'm afraid, I'm fantasizing that somehow today I'm going to experience that sense of shame from my past, which then keeps me out of the present moment. And I go into my codependent behaviors where I will avoid, manage, manipulate, or control. So when I'm out of that present moment, I am not going to be able to stay connected to my heart. Because when the fear of shame is going on, we're bouncing between present or between past and future, we're going to be experiencing life from the neck up, primarily, because we're going to be in all this thought and it's going to put us in that survival part of our brain. It's going to shut down the wise part of our brain. We're off and running at those times. So I thought it was beautiful that in Sanskrit, part of the word forgiveness meant that I am in the present moment. I think that is just absolutely beautiful. So psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person or group who has harmed you. So very similar to what the Aramaic word of untying is referring to, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. Forgiveness is about letting go, not excusing the behavior or saying that it's okay or, downplaying it in any way. But it's a letting go of the emotional chains that unforgiveness wraps around us. We make a prison of ourselves in that place when we hold on to resentment, when we hold on to those past hurts. It's not to say that those things don't deserve processing, because to heal our woundedness, to heal our traumas, we need to be able to feel them, experience them. We need to be able to, in some ways, have a voice that we weren't maybe able to have as a little child. We need to be able to feel those feelings that maybe we weren't able to feel when we were a little child, so we can let them go. That's separate from holding on to the resentment and holding on to the hurt. So what is gratitude? Gratitude is the quality of being thankful, a readiness to show appreciation, and a return to kindness. I love that, a return to kindness. That is the dictionary's definition. Gratitude is the expression of appreciation for what one has. So I am going to, because my picture is in front of this, I'm going to take this and read by my glasses. This is from as Bill sees it, page 29, but I just love this. I am very grateful that my higher power has given me a second chance to live a worthwhile life. Through Alcoholics Anonymous, I've been restored to sanity. The promises are being fulfilled in my life. I'm grateful to be free from the slavery of alcohol. I'm grateful for peace of mind and the opportunity to grow, but my gratitude should go forward rather than backward. I cannot stay sober on yesterday's meetings or past 12-step calls. I need to put my gratitude into action today. Our co-founder said our gratitude can best be shown by carrying the message to others. Without action, my gratitude is just a pleasant emotion. I need to put it into action by working step 12, by carrying the message and practicing the principles in all my affairs. I'm grateful for the chance to carry the message today. I just love that reading, because I absolutely, gratitude to me is when we put love and gratitude together, we're really moving into that place of action with it. And it is absolutely wonderful to feel gratitude, to feel grateful. That is a very, very pleasant emotion. I think it's a high vibration emotion when that is there, but it's also important to then share that with others. However that looks, whether it's just in a story about gratitude to somebody, maybe uplifting them, or whether it's extending gratitude by being in service of some way. I always look at with service work, because a lot of time, because of looking at the codependence, I've had people share with me at times, I don't want to be in service work because my form of codependence was that I gave and gave and gave. Now, somebody else's form of codependence may have been that they took and took and took, or avoided. But for the people that felt like they were always giving, always trying to fix people, show up for people, be there for people, the idea of service work felt overwhelming, because it felt like moving right back into that codependence. The difference is that there is no expectations attached. So when I am being a caretaker or a fixer, or somebody, I'm getting in there and I'm going to make everything okay for somebody, when that is going on, because those are codependent behaviors, some codependent behaviors, they're based in expectations of outcomes. So I'm doing that with the expectation that the person's going to like me, they're going to agree with me, they're going to think I'm a nice person, they're going to be happy, they're going to be fixed, whatever our expectation is. When we're in service work that comes from the heart, there's no expectation. I'm just doing this because it feels good from my heart to be able to do it. That is the way that I would tell anybody to be able to do service work. To me, it is something that I think is so important to be able to engage in, however it is. Sometimes service work can just be, I'm at the grocery store in the checkout lane, and I look at the person checking me out and I say, hey, how are you doing today? Just extending some kindness to somebody. But to do that without any expectation, they may grumble back and say, I don't even know, or not even answer back. But to be able to do that actions of the heart without any kind of expectation. There also, with gratitude, which I appreciate, it's easy to look at the negative side of life, I think, for all of us. I remember reading that our brain, that survival part of our brain, actually naturally goes to that place when that part of our brain is activated. So that's that whole parasympathetic survival, fight, flight, freeze, that part of our brain. So when we're able to take a step back and start looking at, okay, what am I grateful for in my life? And really breathe into that, feel it, experience it. I guarantee you it's going to be more uplifting. It's going to start to bring you up and out of that negativity. Now, if you're just reciting it intellectually, you're probably not going to be risen out of that negativity. You want to be able to bring it from your heart. So it's something that truly I feel grateful for. And some days, I remember when I first got clean and sober, I was told, that all the gratitude you may feel in those early days is that I didn't pick up and use today. And that's amazing, and feeling grateful for that. That was a powerful thing back then. I celebrated 40 years this year, and every step of the way has been something that I can recite countless ways that I felt gratitude during that process. Even the times that were hard. If I didn't have those are hard times for me to challenge myself, to push through, I wouldn't have come out on the other side and been able to receive the gifts of that. So gratitude can show up in lots of different ways. So what we're going to do now, like I said, this is going to be a little bit more experiential this time, is I'm going to have you take a few minutes. And I don't want you to spend a long time on this. I just want you to do this from what comes to the top of your head, just right off. How do I love myself? How do I love myself physically? How do I love myself emotionally, intellectually, sexually, spiritually? So now I'm going to have you, how do I love others? I want you to choose one person. Just think of one person. And when you're going to use that same person throughout all these exercises. But how do you love them physically, emotionally, intellectually, sexually, spiritually? And do you love them in those areas? So take a couple minutes and just write that, and then we're going to stop for a moment, and I'm going to ask you to share, whoever would like to share. Okay, I'm going to ask you, anybody who would like to share what they wrote. But just before that, on the second one, on how do I love others, it was interesting, for me, I knew how to love others to the degree that I could love myself. And it was where I struggled with loving myself, I noticed, was where I struggled with loving others. So it'll be interesting to hear how this showed up for you all. So if there's anybody who would like to share, just go ahead and raise your hand, and then I will call on you.
I don't know how to raise my hand. It was interesting when I was doing the how do I love others, I wrote a couple of things like spending time with, and the other one I wrote was taking care of stuff. And then I realized how codependent. So I changed it to helping out with stuff, like different projects or whatever. So that was interesting. And it's kind of hard, and I don't know that I do a good job in all of these areas. Are you going to give us an example of what a good job of loving others looks like in these areas?
Yes, I can. And so did you have any on loving yourself?
Yeah. Just creating a nice, comfortable home that feels safe and keeping myself safe in my friendships and relationships.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Good. So I'm, if I'm looking at on loving ourselves in those areas, physically would, for you, Linda, would be exactly what you just said in that on creating a safe environment for you. Physically, maybe how I take care of myself physically, how I treat myself physically. Do I work myself too hard? Do I push my body too hard? Emotionally would be about how I receive my own feelings and embrace those, how I share them, how I create emotional intimacies with others. Intellectually would be trusting my own reality, would be a huge way to love myself. But to also expand my mind, be teachable, is another way that I could love myself. Sexually, besides, my relationship with my husband, but it would be a way that I look at myself as a female and how I treat myself and respect myself as a woman. Spiritually, loving myself would just be talking to, praying with, spending time with my higher power, which is always a delight to me. So those are some on loving myself, but I'm going to go on to Julie has her hand up. So Julie.
Oh, hi, Mary. I think Mark had his hand up. I'm just being courteous.
Oh, he was before you? Okay, sorry. It shows up funny on my screen. Mark, why don't you go ahead?
Hi, sorry, it's Tanya. And
Hi, Tanya.
Thank you. Yeah, this was kind of challenging at first because Mark and I were saying, we're thinking of it as a verb again. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, so physically, I would say I love myself when I do take care of myself by doing yoga or hiking or eating something that's just really, a salad that's really nutritious and it feels good when I'm taking care of myself physically. Emotionally, I think there's some struggles there with, it's a constant growth process, I think, to allow myself to be gentle with myself and be compassionate with myself. And when the inner critic comes up, to just allow, be self-compassionate and allow myself to have my feelings, and just be kind and loving like I would be to others, but to myself. Intellectually, I think just I love myself intellectually when I'm reading or watching a documentary that I enjoy, where I feel like I'm growing and I'm stimulating my mind, or engaging in a class like this, even though it's not just intellectual, but it's an intellectual process of wanting to grow. And sexually, that one was kind of awkward with myself. I think, again, so that was helpful what you said. I think embracing my own femininity and self, boundaries. I think that was like you said, boundaries with others of, how you expect others to treat you. But also being, I guess, more sensual. That I struggled with that one a little bit. And then spiritually is just connecting with my higher power and trying, working on making space for that every day. And interestingly, a big part of that is being in gratitude. When I'm in gratitude, then, I'm connecting spiritually. And then physically, I think with Mark, I'm affectionate. I might, run my hands through his hair when we're relaxing. Emotionally, just expressing our love through kind words or, physically could be making a coffee or, just cooking, things like that. Intellectually, I think we do morning readings together that we share and exchange ideas. Sexually is sexually. Sorry, I'm getting uncomfortable now.
Yeah,
Sharing
and
with-
sometimes that can be that you are just honoring, Mark being a man, that
Yes,
you're being respectful of that, being,
Mhm.
yeah, that there's a mutual respect of each other,
Yeah.
let alone from the being sexual with each other.
right. Yes,
Yeah, just that honoring of each other.
yes. Mhm. And spiritually, sharing our program, sharing classes like this, doing readings that are spiritual readings that we share in that practice together and exchange, how we feel about it.
Mhm. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if I'm going in the order here, I think Becky, you are next.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, uh, I'll probably echo a lot of what everybody has said, but physically for me is taking care of my physical body, eating right, exercising, etc. I need to get better at all of that. Emotionally, setting healthy boundaries with people and removing toxic people and relationships from my life.
Mhm.
Intellectually, I'm always learning. Sexually, and you'll be happy to hear this, taking a break. Taking a break. Yeah. So I'm on a break. Spiritually, step 11 every day and throughout the day. And then I was thinking about others. So I was thinking about my 12-year-old granddaughter. So physically, physical, that would be under sexual, but teaching her about exercise and trying to get her involved in something, finding something she's interested in. So we are currently practicing volleyball.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Emotionally, listen to her, be there for her, getting her involved in Alateen. Intellectually, constantly teaching her. Sexually, big thing for me is teaching her about appropriateness around that. The stranger danger is appropriate for a 12-year-old. And then spiritually, I I take her to church and I am teaching her how to pray. And I got her a little daily devotional. I don't know if she's using it, but I'm getting her this weekend. So I will be able to assess that. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Becky. Julie.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning, everyone. For how do I love myself physically? I keep my body moving, and by going to the gym and doing hot Pilates and eating plant-based. And I also go to the doctors. I just had a mammogram. So doing that. Emotionally, like paying close attention to my reactions versus my responses, doing feelings inventory, am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired, and going to therapy and just doing my power work in regards to my anger and rage. Intellectually, learning about creating my own business and being teachable and studying how to empower myself. Sexually, I'm sober in a 12-step program called Love Addiction Anonymous. So I take care of my own physical needs because I'm sober and not looking for love in all the wrong places sexually. Spiritually, speaking to my higher power on a regular basis, sharing my gratitude with my higher power, my gratitude list, and then having a God box in motion. And I ask my higher power, how can I be of service to you? So that's included in my prayer. How do I love other people physically? Being present physically, like to visit my mother, and my relationship with her has turned itself around. My friends, go hiking with friends, like do physical things like that. Emotionally, practicing compassionate listening to others instead of taking other people's inventories and giving advice. So just being present. Intellectually, learning about others, other people's goals and how to be supportive with boundaries, putting my own mask on first. Sexually, listen to my recovery friends without giving advice. And spiritually, not judging their spiritual beliefs, like allowing people to have their own realities. Thank you, I pass.
Thank you, Julie. Jordana.
Good morning, Mary and everyone. Thank you. This was really interesting because I was like, ooh, I never really thought about how I love myself. And then as I started, I was like, oh, there's been growth there. I do love myself. And then as you mentioned, like what sexually could be in terms of, you know, seeing how we see ourselves as a female or male, I was like, oh, maybe I'm not loving myself so much. But physically for me, for how do I love myself? It's very much what other people are saying, physical activity, working out, stretching, moving, also things like, you know, taking care of appearance, hair, nails, trying to get enough sleep, drinking water, and emotionally is taking walks, praying, doing readings, talking to friends, counseling. Intellectually, is being open-minded and to keep learning and hearing and seeing other viewpoints. Sexually, this is the one I have more of a big question mark because I haven't really thought much about that before. Spiritually, talk to my higher power, have gratitude, take gratitude walks, nourish friendships, dance, and create a safe space in my home, a peaceful space that I can just chill in. How I love others physically. It's funny because I go right into that caretaker codependence as well. That's where my mind goes, is helping out with things, but helping out with, you know, if I think of family, you know, strength wise, like I work out if someone else isn't, you know, in my family doesn't, and they, you know, need something lifted like that. But more so being present and practicing patience. Emotionally with others, listening, if they ask, you know, for my feedback, sharing what I've learned from my experiences, and being present again. Intellectually is keeping an open mind and learning their perspective, giving them space, a safe space. Sexually for others, same thing. I just had a question mark on this because I hadn't really thought about it until you offered some of that insight. So thank you. And spiritually with others, I have having forgiveness, apologizing, and being accountable for my behavior and my actions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jordana.
Thank you.
So isn't it interesting? There are so many ways of truly, I love to hear all the ways that everybody connects with loving themselves. And I think it does kind of like stop for a moment, and it's like, okay, so what am I doing? You know, one of the things you can do with this on the how do you love yourself is to even have these 5 areas and do a little checklist at the end of the day. It's like, how did I love myself today physically? How did I love myself today emotionally? How did I love myself today intellectually, sexually, spiritually? And it's kind of like doing a love 10-step in a sense, and be able to just check that off for yourself, you know, without any comparing, shame. Did I do good? Did I do bad? Just, you know, just more of being able to have awareness around that. You know, if we can't see something, we can't change it. So the more that we can see areas, you know, like some of you had some areas that you know, kind of were questioning or looking at, you know, if you can't see those areas, then you're not able to change them. All right, so we're going to move on to forgiveness, same exercise. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. What do you need to do? What do you need to forgive yourself for? So physically, emotionally, intellectually, sexually, spiritually. So you might look at, have you been harmful to yourself physically? Have you not taken care of your body in some way, used excess, whether it's maybe sugar or alcohol or, you know, anything else? You know, has there been anything that you've done more harmfully to your body? Working too much, pushing your body, you know, when it needs to rest. Emotionally, have you been, you know, in your self-talk, shaming to yourself around yourself emotionally? Intellectually, around your reality, how you view yourself, how you process? Sexually, do you put yourself down as a man or a woman? As a sexual being, do you put yourself down as not being good enough, whatever that would be? And spiritually, do you have any areas there where you need to forgive yourself in your spirituality? Okay, so now we're going to take the same person you had in the original exercise, in the love exercise, and using that same person, what do you need to forgive that person for? What do you need to emotionally untie with that person, physically, emotionally, intellectually, sexually, spiritually? Okay. So I'm going to open this up for anybody who would like to share. Just to raise your hand, or if you're not sure, just to unmute yourself and say, I'd like to share.
I can share again.
Thank you, Jordana.
Yeah, I didn't completely, these for me, sometimes I have to like think about later and take away because I struggle with what falls into intellectually versus spiritually. But for what I need to forgive myself for, physically, work's been a lot lately, and there's been little time and it's been stressful. So I've gotten a little bit off my routine. So I forgive myself for getting off my routine, but mainly for getting frustrated that I have, because when I get out of that workout routine or my sleep, or I tend to get really hard on myself. Emotionally, for what did I put here? For shaming myself for not being patient enough or compassionate enough with others, or for not holding the space or the time when I've gotten busy for them that I should or would like to find a way to. Intellectually, I wasn't sure for this, but I made it. There was a work situation, and I could have handled it better. It wasn't awful, but I could have handled it better, and I wish I would have handled it better. So I put that under intellectual. Sexually, shaming what I need to forgive myself for, shaming myself for looks, particularly the last month, viability as I age, not being good enough, and doing a lot of comparison. Spiritually, I need to forgive myself for being more fearful versus more faithful. So when I start getting busy or worked up a little, or just running at that high frenetic pace, I'm much more aware now of it, but I notice, that go-to of the fear creeping in is really, really easy. For what I need to forgive myself, or was it what we need to forgive someone else for?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's what I did. So for these, it's kind of, I noticed it's a family member, and it was kind of the same thing fell into each category. So it's an overlying. I kind of skipped physical, but everything applies. For emotional, I have for treating me as less than others, or not as deserving of nice things, or for not needing joy, peace, or autonomy. Intellectual, again, it kind of fits in. Everything is the same, not, kind of not teaching me certain things or showing me the way on certain things, although I feel like intellectually is pretty strong with this family member. Sexually, not teaching me about what the different ways being a woman can mean, not instilling confidence or teaching me about boundaries with others. And spiritually, it's not really so much, like with higher power, but it's spiritually overall not allowing me to have my own opinion or explore, not introducing a lot of other thoughts of how spirituality affects you, not necessarily outside of religion.
Very
So
good.
that's all.
Thank you. How did that feel?
Good. It does. On the forgiving others, I do notice I don't have like a rage feeling or an anger feeling, but when I write out those feelings, I notice I start to get frustrated again on, seeing that, or that I didn't have that. But then I'm like, no, these are things that I can forgive somebody for. Their limitations. They did the best that they could do. It's my responsibility now, and I'm fine. And I've learned the lesson. So I love the definition at the beginning with the forgiveness of untying, because I'm feeling there. I can start writing it out and start feeling myself being a little sad or frustrated. But then I'm like, no, it's an untying from that. It's a different relationship now.
Good. Wonderful, Jordana. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to share?
I'll share. This is hard for me.
It's okay. You could do
So I used my partner who I just broke up with like a week ago. Well, first I need to forgive myself for I'll get stuck in my feelings and it'll prevent me from giving my body what I need. Like I won't eat or I just won't like exercise or like even go for a walk. Emotionally for doubting myself, for blaming and shaming myself for how I feel and suppressing those feelings that were really just trying to show me what I need. Intellectually distracting myself, multitasking, self-judgment, rigid thinking. I have a lot of body shame. And surprisingly, I don't really have a lot to forgive myself for spiritually. I am very firm. I have good boundaries around that with myself. What I need to forgive this person for, physically shaming me for the space I need in a relationship, blaming me for not contributing enough or doing enough. Emotionally blaming and shaming me for his discomfort in our relationship, not having compassion, not listening, not trusting, intellectually not trusting, doubting my truth, invalidating my reality. Sexually, it wasn't actually as bad as everything else, but like needing sex to create an intimate connection. Spiritually, shaming me for if our practices didn't always align, and shaming me for the space I needed to come home to myself as running away or isolation.
Okay. How does that feel to go through that? I mean, you're in a tender place right now.
Yeah, it feels good. It's like I'm happy to be here because of all of this. Like I feel like it's just good in the sense that like it's giving me the space and time to honor how I feel and like process everything in a healthy way. Because sometimes it's very overwhelming and I don't always know where to put everything. So
Right.
this is really nice. The structure is really nice.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. Yeah. Julie.
Hi, Mary. I'm Julie. For me, forgiving myself physically, like the oh no, yo-yo, emotional eating, like when I'm depressed. And what I'm learning about my emotional depression is that it's usually tied to I'm not getting what I want. So that kind of shifts me out to go to my higher power's will. Emotionally, I have this inner gangster where I'm taking hostages and it ties into obsession. Like what's in my head, it's a persistent, disturbing preoccupation of other people. And it's like a subtle insanity and then I go into a fantasy. Not accepting people is for who they are. It's like beating my head up against the wall. And then I go into those expectation fantasies that I learned from you. And then emotionally, the shame spirals and those shame statements. Intellectually, like staying in jobs that are not a good fit for me, like staying in those way too long, but I'm learning and I'm growing in it by using my tools. Sexually, beating myself up for being a sexual anorexic for 9 years. And then also being jealous of other people when they're with their partners and hearing about it. And then spiritually turning myself and other people into higher power. In regards to others, people would judge me about my physical appearance, and then I would judge them back. So allowing them to have their own reality and their own opinions. And then emotionally, the same thing, like people want me to be a certain way. And if my sister and niece have detached from me emotionally, so I'm working on my resentments around that. It's getting a lot better. I'm more in acceptance around them because they have a right if they don't want to ever talk to me again. I tried. Intellectually, like my aunt made some shaming statements last week, and I was able to not hang on to them because that doesn't belong to me.
Mhm.
And then spiritually, when it comes, like I have some friends who they have my childhood religion, and I get very defensive. I mean, they have a right to have their own religious beliefs, but what I do is I get defensive. And so I'm learning to just allow people to have their own their higher power.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. You brought up something that I think plays a part with all this too, around acceptance. And I've always learned that there's 3 levels of that. When we accept something, it means that we've already judged it. And so now we're, needing to accept it just as. Doesn't mean we have to like it, agree with it, anything else, but I can accept it for what it is. And then we can move into another step called loving acceptance, which means now I'm going to approach my acceptance from my heart space and engage love in that acceptance. I still may not agree with, somebody or what they're doing or anything else, but I can move that into loving acceptance. And then the third stage, which I think we move in and out of, is called loving allowance. And that's where I've had no judgment. Now I know for myself, my ability to stay in loving allowance is far less than my ability to stay in loving acceptance. But I think we can all get to a place of staying in loving acceptance and then periodically, be able to kind of jump over and see what that feels like to not have any judgments at all. Sometimes that is a lot harder to do than not in there. But thank you so much. So anyone else on that? Okay, let's go to the next one. This is on gratitude. So a little bit different than what you love about yourself. What are you grateful for in yourself? You are uniquely you. And there's nobody else that can be that. I think there's a Dr. Seuss quote around that. I can't be anybody. Oh, I can't remember the quote. But anyways, it talks about us being our unique self. And so what are you grateful for in you? Physically, emotionally, intellectually, sexually, spiritually. Take a few minutes and write about that. This one is where you get to look at your gifts and abilities. Give you another minute on this one, just so you can get all those wonderful things you're grateful about on. Okay. So now, using that same person that you've been working with the other two exercises, what are you grateful for in this person? And some of it may be what they taught you. You know, some people in my life, I am grateful because they helped me get on the path of recovery. And I may not have done that had they not come into my life. You know, so really looking at, you know, where's your gratitude for this person? Were they just a powerful teacher for you, you know, that pushed you into your own evolution and healing? You know, is there some gratitude for the gifts that they brought to the relationship? Okay, why don't we open this up for sharing again? And who would like to start with that? Faye, thank you.
I was just saying I will do the easier one. What am I grateful for physically? That I remain active and I am able to engage in as many physical activities as I can for my age. Emotionally, I think I'm pretty stable. I'm kind. I'm thoughtful. I'm willing to lend a helpful hand. And I continue to work on my personal growth. Intellectually, I stay involved. I write. I accomplish other goals. I study a foreign language, for example. I remain very curious and interested in the world around me. Sexually, that I am a woman and still enjoy my femininity. Spiritually, I have a loving, kind, nurturing higher power who provides for all my needs and wants. And using my same person, the person I've used is my adult son. Physically, he's strong, capable, and athletic. Emotionally, he's done a lot of work on himself, and he's made a lot of progress in his emotional growth. Intellectually, he's smart, engaged, curious. Sexually, he is a very strong male. Spiritually, he is God's child who is also cared for, nurtured, provided for by an omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent higher power.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to share? Julie.
Hi, it's me again, it's Julie. What am I grateful for myself? Physically, I found something that works for me. The intermittent fasting, I really like that. I didn't think somebody told me about it before and I didn't want to listen to them. But I tried it and I like it. And I like going to the gym and doing my hot yoga practice. And I like hiking in the beautiful, magical part of Arizona called Sedona. I like doing that. Emotionally, I'm learning to create more internal boundaries. And it's like wearing a bulletproof vest and learning how to not take on other people's shame and all that stuff, and to not take things so personal and make it all about me. And then also my inner children, my inner teenager, and my loving parent, like having meetings with them and realizing that God's in charge. Intellectually, I'm grateful for the many, many books and, in the internet, in magazines, and just learning through other people, like what I want in myself, I can see in other people as well. Sexually, I don't have to use sex to gain approval and acceptance. So I'm really learning that because it wasn't that way years ago. Spiritually, I'm grateful for using the tools of recovery, working the steps, and relying on my loving higher power who's large and in charge. What I'm grateful for, and this is going to be my sister and niece, we had a big falling out. And so physically, I'm looking at my sister. She lost a lot of weight and she's real disciplined. So from a distance, I can see that. I'm very proud of her. Emotionally, to allow my sister and niece to have their own grieving process and not control it and not say, I want you to forgive me now. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. To allow them space. Intellectually, my niece just got her master's in nursing. I was not invited to the graduation, but I'm very happy for her. So that's gratitude instead of being in my resentment. Yes. So I've grown into that, Mary. Sexually, I don't know about their business and it's none of mine. And spiritually, when I had that big falling out with my family, my mother called the police on me because I was raging. This happened about 14 years ago. My relationship with my mother has been restored, but my cousin, who was, he told me, your niece and sister do not have accountability tools to forgive. And that runs in my family. We hold on to resentments for decades. So he told me that and then he died. So that was the biggest gift, that when people do not have accountability tools, then I don't need to make them my higher power.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie. Thank you. Jordana.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I'm dominating, but I'll just round it out. Finish the trifecta of all three.
It's good. There's plenty of time.
What I'm grateful for about myself physically, I have strength, health, abilities, capabilities, my physique. Emotionally, my vulnerability, authenticity, kindness, having feelings, being able to express my feelings, establishing boundaries or learning to establish boundaries, not work in progress, but doing it, and being able to ask for help. Intellectually, my logic, creativity, open-mindedness, and work ethic. Sexually, gaining some confidence in that area and about myself as a woman. Spiritually, being open-minded, growing my relationship with my higher power, and working to be my best self.
Nice.
And what I'm grateful for in my family member that I chose, and I didn't break this down by the physically, emotionally. I can go back and put them in, but I just kind of started free flowing. Grateful for their grace to heal and grow, even when they don't understand what I'm going through or why I'm doing what I'm doing or how I feel. Patience, forgiveness, their open-mindedness. They're teaching me that people and community and service matters. Hearing me, even if not the first time or not being able to change, but seeing that they've heard me. Introducing me to the arts and my creative abilities. They're doing their best and starting to open up as well.
Nice. Thank you. How'd that feel?
Really good. Really, really good. Yeah. Soothing. So yeah, thank you.
Gratitude is so good.
It is.
Jenny. Oh, Jenny, you need to unmute first.
Thanks. Sorry, I thought I did that. What am I grateful for myself? Physically, my ability to move, my health, my ability to learn new physical things quickly, physical activities. Emotionally, my growing ability to identify my feelings and hold space for them without distracting. Offering myself more and more compassion. less shame around my tears and my process. My inner kids for teaching me where I need stronger boundaries and where I can learn to lean into some fear, and how they teach me to be more playful, which breeds a lot of creativity in myself. I'm grateful that I have learned and continue to learn that I am enough. Intellectually, my curiosity and the trust that I'm growing in my own reality, my ability to be objective and self-regulate and be objective about what's going on. My ability to communicate and practice nonviolent communication with others. I'm always learning new things, new language, sailing, learning how to sail, lots of other things. Sexually, my ability to communicate from a curious place and with strong boundaries, that I can be open up and be vulnerable, learning to love my body more, and that I don't need sex for validation. Spiritually, dedication to my practice, all my practices, I have a lot. And I feel like even though I lack trust sometimes, it's very easy for me to come back to the trust that I have in God and my higher power. And I'm really grateful for that. What I'm grateful for in my ex, physically, we shared an adventurous life together, lots of travel. He introduced me to a lot of new activities like free diving and kite surfing. Emotionally, this is hard. Through not being enough in that relationship for him, I learned that I am enough. Yeah. And that's what gave me the strength to leave. Intellectually, he inspired me to read a lot more, and to also kind of just continue fueled the curiosity that I already had, inspired me to learn new things. Sexually, he was the first person who was like super curious and communicated in healthy ways about sex, and he honored my body more than I did, which showed me how to learn how to do that for myself. Spiritually, he brought 12-step and Coda into my life, and sharing similar practices deepened my personal discipline.
Thank you. Thank you. I know that was hard. Okay. It is so, with that place of gratitude, automatically, like I was saying, even some of our tough teachers, as some of you had shared, can bring us some great awareness and change in our lives. And sometimes that just comes through adversity. I remember reading something not too long ago, but it was talking about, my best teachers are the ones I'm going to want to react to. And, by that, it tells me there's something, reaction always tells me there's something inside of me that needs to be healed, not something with them. That's going to be their business. But for me, just the fact that I get into reaction means that I have something to heal. And that may have not been noticed had I not had that interaction in there. I had something in my life recently where that challenged that, and it's brought about some amazing awareness and healing for me by embracing that place where I wanted to get reactionary, get really hurt, angry, what's going on, I'm afraid, all those kinds of things. I don't think any of that changes no matter how long we've been working on this. Every year of our life, every change in our life brings about a new evolution. So, I'm not even the same person I was yesterday. You aren't the same people you were yesterday. And so there's always, none of us ever arrives, so to speak. There is always growth and change and evolution. Growth, and looking at just how nature works. I believe my higher power created everything, and so in that even those, like a seedling of a plant has to at some level force its way out of that shell, up through the dirt, and pushing its way kind of up and up and up until it breaks that surface of the dirt, and then the sunshine, and then it starts to evolve and become what it is supposed to be. I believe that happens within us all the time, that we have these little seeds that at some level get triggered sometimes. We don't even know they're there, that need to, in a sense, sprout and evolve and help us to heal. I think it's a powerful, I've seen that pretty much everywhere in nature, from where it's looking at, a calf being birthed and the labor, or a baby being birthed and the labor that, that women go through, whatever that might be. There is always a little bit of struggle before that gift comes out, and so it's pretty powerful. If we have a little bit of time, I might do a short imagery, but I wanted to make sure there was plenty of time for questions, or if you wanted to share something additional, that there is time for you to open up and to share a little bit.
I've been like hearing you for many, many years, and I'm so grateful for that. And I remember one share that you and Ken did together, where this was years ago when I was kind of new in the program. You said that when we're mad at each other, we write a gratitude list. Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember saying it, but it would make sense.
So I was wondering if you can give an example, like if there's a trigger, like how that would look like, if you feel comfortable.
Yeah, no problem at all. So one, if there is feelings that need to be dealt with, so between Ken and I, we do a feelings check-in with each other, because the feelings need to be processed, he may share what he's angry about, I may share what I'm angry about. And if we can get to some resolution, sometimes resolution looks like, for me to move in a couple steps in towards Ken, and Ken to move in a couple steps towards me in resolution. May not be exactly what either one of us want, but it's something that works for both of us. And so, but there needs to be a little bit of processing before the gratitude list. And then the gratitude list is something that then sort of just helps with the final healing of all of that. It's like, okay, when I think of Ken, I got a list of a million gratitudes, but, in something like this, it would be that I'm grateful that he shows up, that he is in touch with his feelings. He's able to share them in healthy ways. If they come out sideways, he makes amends right away. We're able to sit down and do resolution with each other, hear each other. We're able to create, even in conflict, we're able to create emotional intimacy, which is the sharing, processing, and experiencing of feelings. And to me, it's been a powerful thing. It took us a lot of work in therapy and in our recovery programs to be able to get to that place. We were both pretty wounded beings, and we had a tendency to project that woundedness onto each other. So, there's a term called emotional separation. It's where I emotionally separate out my history from today. And that was a lot for me to learn. But because of that, we could go through this process, and then we could kind of like bring it back together by sharing gratitudes with each other, what we appreciated with each other.
Thank you so much. I was at work, and I have to deal with a lot of grief and death and passing. And this one customer was sharing that her husband just committed suicide. And I was there, and and I just provided empathy, but it came out of my mouth. I said, We just have to learn to love ourselves through it. And she was like, oh my gosh, and that's in regards to grief, our history work and all that, and then to connect with our inner source of infinite love. So that's what I'm really focusing on now in 2023. Thank you for everything.
Beautiful. You're welcome, Julie. Thank you. You always have beautiful wisdom. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. So for those of you who would be interested in doing this, I'm going to walk you through just a short imagery. So what I would ask you to do would be to get comfortable, not too comfortable that you'll fall asleep, but to get comfortable. Disconnect any sounds. So if there's outside of my voice, of course, but if there's any noise that you can, to just be able to disconnect from those sounds. So if you have a phone, maybe turn the phone off, as long as it's not connected here. And then I want you to just begin to close your eyes and to breathe. And taking in long, slow, deep breaths way down into your belly. And allowing that breath to gently release. And as you're releasing that breath, to allow any stress or tension or fears to release from your body. And to take in another breath, slowly, gently, way down into your belly. And to again gently release. And you take one more breath in, and this time I want you to ask your higher power to help you to feel and see and experience everything that you're supposed to. Deep breath in. And gently release that breath. And allow yourself to relax in your higher power. Almost like you're just falling back into your arms. Just to relax. And when you're ready, I want you to see yourself getting up from your chair or wherever it is that you're sitting, and that you're going to go out your front door. You're going to walk down the street, and then you are going to see manifesting before you this beautiful, amazing, safe place that is yours and yours alone. No one else can come into this safe place. It's of your creation. So there may be water, there may be trees, there may be animals, there may be birds. So whatever this safe, beautiful place looks like, see yourself walking into this place and recognizing that this is all expressions of you. Beautiful expressions of you, safe expressions of you. And that in this safe place, your higher power is everywhere. And so as you're walking through it, as you're breathing, you're noticing that you and your higher power are one. That there is a direct connection, a connection that cannot be broken by anybody or anything. We may move our attention away from that connection, but we can never break that connection. That is there. We are never alone. Our higher power is with us always and in all ways. So in this safe place, I want you to look over to the left, and I want you to see your inner child, maybe your inner children, if there's more than one. You may have a little one and a teenager, but I want you to see them walking towards you, maybe running towards you. And as you all move towards each other, give each other a hug. Embrace them. Let them embrace you. Let them know how loved they are and how special they are and precious. And tell your child or children, tell them what you love about them. It may be their giggle or their laughter, or their spontaneity, or their creativity, or their strength, their courage, their spirit. And hear from them what they love about you. And ask them if they'd like to go sit down in a special place. So you could all relax. Maybe there's a picnic blanket that you all sit on. But you just find a place where you're all very comfortable with each other. And if there is one child, or like I said, if there's more than one, I want you to individually take their hands and say, I ask your forgiveness for, and share something with them. Do you forgive me? And if there's more than one, go to each one and do the same thing. And speak from your heart. And notice them, notice the look in their eyes when you tell them that. Maybe nobody said that to them before. And let them know what you're grateful for with them. Their sweet preciousness, their presence in your life. The way they help you be creative and imagining things and playful. Maybe the way they help you be adventuresome. And notice their response. Let them know that from here on out, always, you are now their loving parent. You are the one who gets to talk with them and raise them and teach them and guide them. You are their parent now. And if you're willing, let them know that you will do everything you can to be a healthy parent for them, because they are so deserving of it, so loved, so precious. So ask your inner child, or individually your inner children, what is something they would like to do for fun? And if it's something you can do with them, then let them know you will do that with them. And ask your child or your children if they would be willing to take your hand and show you all the beautiful things that are in your safe space. This is of their creation too. And let them show you all the beautiful things that are there. And keep noticing and experiencing their preciousness while you're holding their little hand. While you're listening to them. Lovingly allow this moment. And breathe. See all of you working your way back to the picnic blanket where you were sitting earlier. And allow you to get comfortable. And just breathe and be with each other. How lovely that is to be with each other. To see your preciousness sitting right there in front of you. To see your innocence sitting right there in front of you. To see your beauty sitting right there in front of you. And breathe. Now I want you to ask your child or children if they would like to come back with you into your shared lives and be with you all the time. And that your safe place will be with you all the time and be there for them. So ask them to move in to your hands, and I want you to cup your hands in front of you like you're going to be holding some water. And I want you to see your inner child or children move into those cupped hands and get small enough and tiny enough to where they fit. And that safe place that all of you have created, that your higher power is at one with and flows through, that all moves in to your cupped hands. And now I want you to place your hands over your heart and to breathe in your child, your children, your safe place, your higher power, to breathe it all in and let it fill you. And know that that safe place is always there in your heart. And that the energy of that flows through your whole body, every cell in your body. That your child self or selves is safe. You are spirit filled with your higher power. And ask your kids or your child how they like it in there. Let them know they're never alone. That your higher power is with you all, always and in all ways. And that you will be there for them to the best of your ability. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And if anybody would like to share, they're welcome to. You don't have to. Sometimes it's nice just to sit with that, but please know you're welcome to share as well. One of the most amazing things that have happened in my recovery is that relationship I have with my little girl inside. And sometimes she shows up as, kind of a little playful one. Sometimes she's a little bit rebellious as a teenager. She shows up at different ages, different times. But that relationship with her is how I have healed those traumas from my past. Because I'm able to then today do for her what wasn't able to happen for me when I was growing up. And that relationship is primary. So I hope that for all of you, that whether this was the first time connecting or another time of connecting, that it was something that brought love to your heart. And that presence in each one of those kids are precious. We are born precious, innocent, and beautiful. It truly, we are the only ones that can create our safety. Now, if Ken is being safe, then I get to develop intimacies with him. That happen, but we're the only ones who can create our sense of safety. Nobody can make me safe. That is me and my higher power job. And that has been something that, because I came out of a very unsafe childhood, that is something that was very important for me to discover just in my personal journey. And people just don't have the power anymore. People used to just have the power to determine whether I was going to be safe or not. And they just don't have that anymore. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. I have learned so much from everybody else's sharing, and that you've invited me into your homes, and you are all, the fact to me that you are here tells me just how much you do love yourself, not based on my information or because of me, but because you are showing up and you're doing something loving for yourself. You're remaining teachable, you're remaining open. That's huge. I think of in Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about the how of the program, honest, open, and willing. When we can be in that place, miracles happen. And I definitely am a walking miracle with the work my higher power has done in my life. And I think all of you are too. And thank you.